Good day, everyone. Welcome back to Soft Tutorials by the Scholars. Today, we are going to be looking at concepts used in management science and functions. So, the first concept we'll be looking at is data. What is a data? This denotes numerical facts and figures or piece of information that are amenable to quantitative analysis. Right? So that is what a data is. They are numerical facts that contains information that are amenable, or we can say they are subject to quantitative analysis. Variables. A variable is an event or occurrence that takes two or more values. Example of variable can be sex, age, class, scores, price, quantity, and weight. A variable can be dependent or independent. The dependent variable are explicandum, while the independent variable are explicants. The independent variable, which are explicants, determine changes in the observed event, or they cause a change in an observed event, while the dependent variable, which are explicandum, are the variables that are caused to change, or they are the variables which the change caused by the independent variable affects. So that is for dependent and independent. Another is discrete or continuous variables. Now, the discrete variables have definite values, while the continuous variables are variables that take other member values within a certain range. Example of continuous variable includes age, height, length, and width. Variables can also be qualitative or quantitative. Qualitative variables categorizes objects or cases in terms of type or quality of their properties, while quantitative variable is a variable that groups objects or cases in terms of their amount or quantity of their attributes. Constant. A constant is a magnitude whose value does not change. A magnitude whose value does not change. When a constant, for example of constant, a constant can be a number, can also be an alphabet, can be B, can be A, can be anything. Now, when a constant is combined with a variable, it is now referred to as coefficient. For example, we have 4y. 4 is a constant, y is a variable. Now, in this particular expression, 4y, 4 becomes the coefficient of y, which means the constant becomes a coefficient. So, a letter can also be used to denote a constant. For example, we have BQ. B here is a constant, and in this case, because it's with a variable, it is now what? The coefficient. Next, we'll be looking at subscripts. A subscript is a character that is set slightly below another character. For example, we have PY. Y here is a subscript. Another example can be 2P. P in this expression is the subscript because it is set slightly below another character 2. Next, we'll be looking at superscript. The superscript. Now, the superscript is a character that is set slightly above another character. This one is set slightly above another character. For example, we have P raised to the power of x. X in this case is the superscript. Let's look at what a coefficient is. A coefficient is a numeral part of an algebraic term. Remember, previously we said in an expression that contains a constant and a variable, the constant becomes the coefficient. Now, that expression can be something like this: 30x to the power 4 can just be 30x. Now, this is an algebraic term or an algebraic expression. 30 is the coefficient because it is a constant in this expression. Next, we'll be looking at coordinates. It denotes either two numbers or letters used to fix the position of a point on a graph. It denotes two numbers or letters used to fix the position of a point on a graph. Next, intercepts. These are points that which the graph of a function cuts the axis, and intercepts are points at which the graph of a function cuts the axis. These are the points. For example, we have a graph like this. This is the x-axis, this is the y-axis. This is an example, and this is another one. Yeah. This point at which the graph cuts, at which the point cuts in the graph, cuts the axis in the graph, are called the intercepts. Next, we'll be looking at an equation. This is defined as a mathematical form of equation which expresses a balance between algebraic expression. In an equation, the equality sign is often used to tie the algebraic expression. Now, you must note this point. Equation is defined as a mathematical form of a question. Yes. Next, we'll be looking at a function. What is a function? We can say a function is a rule which expresses the form of relations among variables. It is a rule which expresses a form of relation amongst variables. It is normally written as this. This is an example of a function. Y is equal to f of x. This is pronounced as y equal to f of x, where f stands for the function. In this equation, y is the dependent variable. Y is dependent, while x is independent, because y depends on x. Y is a function of x. It therefore means that any change in x will affect what? Will affect y. There are two major forms of functions. The first one is explicit function. Now, an explicit function is a function that indicates or shows the relationship between the two variables. For example, x and y. It shows the relationship between x and y as functionally independent and dependent respectively. That means it shows the relationship as one is dependent and another one is independent. Like I said previously, in an example like this, y is equal to f of x. This is an explicit function where y depends on x. Therefore means that y is the dependent variable and x is the independent variable. Now the next one is the implicit. Implicit, the other form of a function. The second one is the implicit. In the implicit function, it is uncertain whether x or y is independent or dependent, is the dependent variable. That means in this one, you don't know which one is dependent on the other one. I don't know the one that is independent. The implicit form of x and y can be written as this: function x, y is equal to 0. This means that neither x or y is unknown which is independent or which is dependent. So this is an explicit function. Thanks for partaking in this tutorial for today. So we'll see in our next class. Bye bye.